He stood behind and adjusted its placement, real stories of relationship, challenges from Reddit greetings and salutations to infidelity tales. If you're just joining us, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and show your appreciation for this video by liking it. A fleeting moment, yet it ignites within us the drive to weave even more tales. Kindly show your appreciation for this story. Now let us embark on the tale I never imagined I would become someone who would dare to make a difficult, emotional choice. Yet there are moments when life leads you down paths you could never have anticipated. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Emily. For a decade, now I have shared my life with my husband Ryan. We crafted a life, intertwined exchanged aspirations, and vowed to stand by one another through all circumstances. Yet at some point in the journey a shift occurred. I have transformed. Perhaps it was a shared experience for both of us in the halls of academia. Ryan and I crossed paths had possessed a gentle kindness, a sense of responsibility, and an understated strength that enveloped me in a comforting sense of security. Our love story unfolded quietly, devoid of wild passion or dramatic gestures. It was unwavering, akin to the bedrock of a home designed for eternity. We embarked on our journey together at a tender age, convinced that our love and unwavering commitment would see us through any tempest that life might throw our way. For an extended period they existed. That state, the initial chapters of our union. Brimmed with affection and joy, we journeyed, crafted a sanctuary side by side, and nurtured one another's aspirations. Yet as time passed, the small instances that had once drawn us nearer began to diminish. Ryan consistently dedicated himself striving to create a secure future for us. I grasped theirs and behind it. He sought to offer to ensure we would never face hardship yet. In the process, he began to distance himself from me. Our exchanges grew brief and utilitarian. Have you settled the electricity bill? Yet at what hour does your meeting commence tomorrow? It is essential that we procure some groceries. Our love remained, yet the warmth that once enveloped us began to wane. I reassured myself that it was just a part of life in long-term relationships. This is the unfolding of events. The fervor may fade, yet love endures. It was then that I encountered Brandon. He was my colleague at work. Initially, just a figure in my professional landscape. Someone I partnered with on projects, shared emails with, and occasionally met for coffee. He possessed a delightful wit, an undeniable charm, and an extraordinary ability to make others feel truly acknowledged. In stark contrast to Ryan, perpetually ensnared by his obligations, Brandon was fully engaged in the moment. He listened. He noticed things. It began with fleeting exchanges, innocuous. I reassured myself I would bring up a book I was immersed in, and he would genuinely inquire about it in the days that followed. He would perceive my tension and extend a gentle word of comfort. It was nothing untoward, merely the sort of attention that instills a sense of worth. I was unaware of the depth of my longing for that. On a fateful day, we found ourselves tasked with collaborating on a significant project. It entailed sleepless nights, creative discussions, and countless hours spent together. Initially, I maintained a distinct boundary within my thoughts. I was wed, and my heart belonged to my husband. Yet as I lingered in Brandon's company, it became increasingly clear just how profound my solitude had been. He brought forth laughter from me that I hadn't experienced in years. He made me feel curious and understood again, as if I transcended the role of a wife, merely juggling schedules and responsibilities. In that instant, a moment so simple and seemingly trivial. Everything shifted irrevocably. The hours stretched on as we toiled into the night, fatigue weighing heavily upon me. A deep sigh escaped my lips as I rubbed my temples. And in that fleeting moment, he reached out and brushed his fingers against my hand. "You work too hard," he remarked, a gentle smile gracing his lips. Though it was a seemingly insignificant occurrence, it resonated deeply within me, marking the first genuine moment of connection I had felt in what seemed like an eternity. I assured myself that it was merely a benign act, a simple expression of camaraderie. Yet as I lay in bed next to Ryan that night, my mind was consumed by it, not merely due to the contact itself, but rather because of the significance it carried. For the first time, I found myself confronting a void in my marriage. A realization I had long been reluctant to acknowledge. As the weeks unfolded, the bond one shared with Brandon grew ever stronger. I convinced myself it was merely a bond of friendship. Ultimately, we never ventured beyond any physical limits, yet on an emotional level. In my heart, I found myself in a place I knew I ought not to be. I anticipated my work with a newfound enthusiasm that I had never experienced previously. I found myself lingering in our conversation, laughter spilling over a touch too long, and secrets shared just a bit too freely. As dusk settled, Ryan and I found ourselves at the dinner table, enveloped in a heavy silence he was absorbed in, his phone hardly acknowledging my presence. In that moment, I understood just how effortlessly we had drifted apart. How did we find ourselves as strangers? I yearned to speak with him, to express the sense of being adrift, to convey my need for more from him. However, I did not come morning. I found myself anticipating Brandon's smile as he settled into my workday. I'm uncertain about the precise moment it evolved into. Something deeper. Perhaps it was the conversations that stretched into the early hours, or the way his gaze lingered on me, as if I were someone extraordinary. Perhaps it was the instant I began to put more thought into my morning attire, yearning for his attention. Perhaps it was the manner in which he ignited a sense of vitality within me, a sensation I hadn't experienced in years yet. There came a day when I found myself in an unexpected realm, grappling with the very foundations of my beliefs regarding love, marriage, and loyalty. What's truly terrifying? Uncertainty lingered within, me casting doubt on the decision to halt my course. How I longed to claim that I discerned the peril in its infancy and turned my back before the moment slipped away. Yet the reality is that emotions do not operate in such a manner. One does not simply awaken one morning and choose to allow their heart to wander aimlessly. With each small step you take, one after the other, you find yourself in a place you never thought possible. Brandon wove himself into the fabric of my everyday existence in a manner I had never foreseen. It lacked the flair of drama or the clarity of the obvious, at least in the beginning. It resided in the subtle nuances, the shared glances that spoke volumes across the conference room, the gentle lull in his voice when he inquired about my day, and the way I caught myself glancing at my phone, hoping for a message from him. I reassured myself that it posed no danger. In the end, I found myself in the clear, having done nothing. Amiss each night, I returned to Ryan, sharing the warmth of our bed, the ring on my finger, a constant reminder of the promises we made. Yet I realized I had grown emotionally distant from him. One evening, as Ryan and I lingered in the living room, I observed the profound silence that had enveloped us. He sat engrossed in the news, captivated by Thelatist financial updates, while I lingered nearby, a book resting in my lap. Feigning interest in the pages before me, I longed to speak with him, to grasp his hand, to express the depth of my longing. Yet each time I attempted to articulate my feelings, the words became lodged in my throat. I found myself pondering whether he sensed the widening chasm that lay between us. If he longed for me as deeply as I longed for him, yet he remained silent. I managed to persuade myself that my actions were not truly misguided. Yet the reality was that I had crafted an entirely different realm for myself, a place where Brandon was the individual I eagerly anticipated encountering each day, a space where I felt comprehended, valued, and acknowledged. And then one fateful evening, everything transformed in the dimly lit office. We toiled late into the night on a project, just the two of us, immersed in our work. The gentle hum of the air conditioning filled the room, while outside the city lights danced and flickered against the glass. We found ourselves caught in a fit of laughter, sharing one of those whimsical inside jokes that had blossomed between us in that fleeting instant. All else faded from my mind. Then he gazed at me. Truly, gazed at me and the atmosphere surrounding us transformed. "Emily," he murmured gently, "may I pose a question to you?" There was a moment of uncertainty. "Certainly, do you find joy in your life?" The question struck me. With an intensity one hadn't anticipated, I parted my lips to respond. Yet the words eluded me. The reality was intricate my heart was captivated by. Ryan, I had crafted a life alongside him. Yet what of happiness, uncertainty, lingered in my mind as I pondered the last time I had experienced genuine happiness. Brandon refrained from pressing me for a response. He simply observed me, his expression a mystery. In that fleeting instant I sensed I was poised at the brink of something perilous. "I ought to leave," I murmured, rising abruptly. He allowed me to continue. He made no move to grasp my hand or draw me closer yet. As I turned to leave, an unsettling sensation gripped my chest. That night, as I lay in bed, beside Ryan, I sensed the heavy burden of everything bearing down on me. A decision loomed before me. Yet how does one decide between the existence they've crafted and the emotions that refuse to be silenced? I longed to express that I recognized my misstep immediately, that I paused, understood the direction I was taking, and halted my progress before it became irreversible. Yet emotions defy logic, and at times the most challenging path is the one that is truly right, rather than retreating. I allowed myself to descend a bit deeper. I began discovering justifications for lingering, at the office for reaching out to Brandon beyond the confines of our workday. Initially, the messages carried an air of innocence, a light-hearted quip regarding a meeting, a suggestion for an intriguing read, and a warm wish for your day to be going splendidly. Yet it transcended mere words. It was the emotion that accompanied them, the thrill of his name illuminating my screen, the flutter in my chest as I entered the office, fully aware of his presence. Awaiting me one evening, Ryan posed a question that caused my heart to freeze in its tracks. "You've been distracted lately," he remarked, his tone a blend of softness and authority. "Is all well?" I stood still, caught in a moment of sheer disbelief. This was the moment when I could have revealed the truth to him. It wasn't about Brandon, it was about my own emotions. The longing I felt and the desire for something deeper in our marriage. Yet I managed to muster a smile and replied, "I'm merely overwhelmed with work." He inclined his head, embracing my response without a hint of doubt. In that fleeting instant, a profound truth dawned upon me, shattering my heart into 1,000 pieces. Ryan placed his unwavering trust in me, and I was shattering that bond that night. I lay awake, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, a heavy weight of guilt churning within me. What was I engaged in? Was I truly prepared to jeopardize everything I had crafted with Ryan for something that could very well be an illusion? Brandon ignited a spark within me, yet it was Ryan who had steadfastly remained by my side. Through the years, the man who embraced me in my sorrow, who rejoiced in my triumphs, who vowed to cherish me, even through the toughest times, clarity washed over me, revealing the path I must take. The following morning, I entered the office with a resolution firmly in place. I intended to create some space between Brandon and myself. I would dedicate myself to my marriage, to the task of restoring what had once been cherished. Yet as I caught sight of him by the coffee machine, that effortless smile of his made my determination falter there. The complicated and heart-wrenching reality was that I found myself uncertain about whether I truly wanted to release him from my life, and that filled me with a dread unlike any other. The heaviness of my decisions bore down on me, an oppressive load I could scarcely endure for weeks, even months. I found myself teetering on the brink of a boundary I understood I ought to avoid. I reassured myself that I maintained control, that my actions were not fundamentally flawed. Yet beneath the surface, I recognized the truth of the matter. The emotional chasm I had forged with Ryan was palpable. The bond one had forged with Brandon was unmistakable at this pivotal moment in my marriage. I found myself faced with the profound choice of defining the person I wished to become that morning. I compelled myself to confront what I had long evaded. I gazed at my husband. Truly gazed at him, he sat at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, his gaze drifting over the news on his phone as he did each morning. Their cognition of it caused a constriction in my chest. This was the man with whom I'd crafted a life, the man who had stood by my side through every trial and triumph, and yet I had been slipping away from him. I took a deep breath. "Is that you, Ryan?" He looked up, taken aback indeed. There was a moment of uncertainty. The thoughts I wished to express loomed large, burdened with weight. Yet deep down, I understood that I could no longer maintain the facade I longed for. The days when we were together, I spoke in a gentle whisper. A shift flickered across his expression. He set his phone aside and regarded me intently for a prolonged moment. "Could you clarify what you mean?" It took a deep breath. "It seems as though we've been slowly drifting apart, as if our conversations no longer flow as they once did. I hope we don't drift apart and become unfamiliar to each other." He let out a breath, his fingers gliding over the nape of his neck. "It seems I have been so absorbed in my work that I failed to notice the growing distance between us." His gaze sought out my own. "Do you find yourself feeling discontented?" The sincerity in his voice nearly shattered me. "I love you," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper, yet there's a sense that something has eluded me rather than discussing it with you. I found myself seeking answers else, where his complexion drained of color. "What do you mean?" The sharp ache of tears welled up in my eyes. I find myself deeply entwined in my feelings for a colleague at work while no physical events transpired. I found myself becoming emotionally involved with someone outside my marriage. The ensuing silence was suffocating. Ryan's gaze bore into me, revealing the anguish that lingered within his eyes. The ache inflicted was one I had never wished upon him, and yet I had indeed. "What prompts you to share this with me at this moment?" he finally inquired. His voice strained, my heart raced as I confessed I can't bear the thought of losing you in my reflection. I came to understand that what I believed I lacked was never truly connected to Brandon. It centered around our connection. "I have no desire to discard what we share." He averted his gaze, his jaw set tight. Words escaped me. "I don't anticipate you having an answer immediately," I confessed. "Yet, you want you to understand that I am selecting you, that I desire to mend this." Ryan remained silent for an extended period. He rose to his feet, fingers raking through his hair. "I need time," he finally said, "to process this, to understand what it means for us." Acquiesced, fully aware of the necessity to honor that sentiment, to comprehend on that particular day at the office. I arrived at a conclusion. I had to bring closure to my relationship with Brandon, not merely the dialogues or the unspoken looks, but the profound emotional grip he maintained over me upon encountering him in the hallway. He offered a smile just as he always did, yet I chose not to return it. "May we engage in a conversation?" I inquired. "Certainly," he replied, his smile diminishing as he detected the gravity in my tone. A serene nook in the office beckoned to us, and I inhaled deeply, savoring the moment. "Brandon, I must take a step back." His brows knitted together in a deep frown. "Emily, what's happening?" I found myself deceiving my own heart, convincing it that our bond was merely one of friendship. I confessed. "Yet the reality is that I have strayed emotionally from my husband, and I can no longer continue down this path." He appeared wounded. "It was never my intention to create any issues in your marriage." "I understand," I replied gently. "This matter does not concern you. This narrative revolves around my journey, the decisions I have been navigating. I need to focus on my relationship, which means creating emotional boundaries." Brandon nodded slowly, yet the disappointment flickered in his eyes. "I comprehend with that." I turned and departed. The subsequent days proved to be challenging. Ryan maintained a certain distance, and I found it hard to fault him. For rebuilding trust is not an endeavor that can be accomplished in a single night. Yet there was one truth I held with unwavering certainty, intended to battle for our cause. I began to re-engage in our marriage. Once more, it sparked dialogues, orchestrated evenings out, and above all, I paid attention. I absorbed Ryan's words as he recounted. His day shared his worries and unveiled, his dreams gradually piece by piece. I witnessed the barriers that separated us start to crumble one evening as we lounged on the couch. Ryan extended his hand toward mine. Though it was a modest act, its significance was profound. He confessed that the pain lingers, yet his resolve to hold on to what they have remains unwavering. Emotions surged within me, causing tears to gather in my eyes. I am determined to take every necessary step to set things straight. He tightened his grip around my hand. Let us begin anew. In that instant, clarity washed over me. Love is not defined by the absence of mistakes. It revolves around the decision to stand by one another even in the face of adversity, and I found myself prepared to select Ryan day after day for all the years to come. If this tale struck a chord with you, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever encountered obstacles in your relationships? What approach did you take to manage them? We eagerly await your insights. If you find pleasure in tales such as these, be sure to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell, ensuring you never miss an update. Your support is invaluable, enabling us to share even more compelling narratives with you. Thank you for joining.